Okie dokie, good morning. We are streaming away. Streaming the days away here. We've got go live on Facebook. We are potentially live on YouTube. Get our mic in place. And good morning. We got a couple of things going on in the background here. But as always, we're going to make sure our pals over at Portrait Painters Group are alerted. So, to group Portrait Painters, and we're going to share it up. Okay. Very good. We are live. We have some processes going on in the background. And before we put any marks on the canvas here, one thing I learned was that there were some chats coming through. All messages are visible. Okay, that's what I want. I missed some chats. It's all right. It's good to know that they were there. I'm just sorry if I'm missing them. All right. We have 15 minutes of this process going on in the background here. And that's fine. We probably can start up. Wait. Okay. I see what happened there. We're doing our screen 1, screen 2, screen 3 it is. Okay, so today, without too much further ado, what's that going on in the desktop here? Can we get rid of that? That's our time lapse. Looking good. We're zoomed out again. What's the strategy today? Well, we did a lot of work on Ripley and Newt because we were zoomed in as such. And today, we're going to hit up these dark areas on the bottom here. Okay? So, how is this done? The best way to do it is to squint and to find a basic blue value for the floor. We just need to get the floor going. And understanding the limitations of our understanding the limitations of the software or whatever, like just the way the paint works in this format. Typically it's going to be light into dark that's more effective. I'm sorry, dark into light that's more effective at carving away. So with that in mind, we're going to get a bluey blue. Okay. We're going to get a, start painting these away. We're not going to go nutso. But you'll see that we can kind of quickly, here, block in our grating here. And I'm making this up. I don't know, like, I know that over here there's lots of darkness. Okay. Not a problem if we want to knock in our background. Making tentative steps into this because I don't know the best way to approach this necessarily, but I do know that there's a little light there that pops through. There is potentially the need for this. Get the Reebok going here. Wait, what happened there? Let's find this one. See that? We're definitely going to need to come in here with this kind of level of granularity at some point. But for right now, you know, we're looking through, we're seeing, okay, where is it? Here's a nice gray, grabbing the colors from the photo, zooming out, and, oh, dude. Okay. We've got a first-time chatter here. But what's weird is there you left the quotation marks. I don't know if this is like, and then you attributed this comment to Brenda024. Well, I'm confused. But I know it's fake because my energy is anything but infectious. Okay, let's get them out of here. How do we get them out of here? Ban them. Delete. All right, well, that was exciting. I did get a new follower out of the deal. I hope they keep following. That would be nice, because I'm low on followers. I've also been looking too closely into my statistics. Okay. I've been looking at my stats and thinking, you know, maybe I better just hang it up and go back to doing Zelda speed runs. But I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna keep it going, keep it real, and let's see what's going on. So we have the highlights highlit here. Here's another area where we can plow through. So we got a busy day today. I'd like to say that I'm going to be able to do tons of work today on this, but I'm not. Okay, look here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Moving right along. All of this stuff is a darkest dark. So really, this is industrial painting. Really, literally, it's like we're painting industrial stuff, and you kind of have to go about it with a mind for organization and math, and you just, it's not math, it's just geometry. And you're saying to yourself, all right, is this the most fun thing I want to paint today? I mean, try to make it fun. And we can do it. We can do it. The main thing is we're keeping a focus on numbers, like how many of these so this one is going to go like that. There's one. There's another. And then this is all going to get shown up in the time lapse, so we got to be quick about this. All right, yeah, here's a good one. So what did we have here? We had some darkest darks powering through. Yes, we've got these darkest darks here. That's the shadow cast by Ripley. Sarah B., what's up? Good morning. I was just thinking about you guys. I'm just talking about you on the stream, actually, or at least the old regime. I gotten sucked into my art stream thing here, and I can't wait to check back in. I've been away. How are you guys? I'm doing okay. What are you up to? Grab. Great. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop in soon. It's fun to kind of check in and see all the time melting off Otas's PB And new runners too, which is cool. Nice. We're forging ahead here. Have you guys done any more of those Mario Kart nights? That was fun. I don't want this to look like some kind of a furry tale or something. I gotta watch out. Keep it family friendly. Okay. Meanwhile, we're in the meanwhile, where are we? I'm trying to upload something. Oh well, I can't find it. Let's just keep going. All right, Sarah B., what's happening? I was wondering if you guys did a Mario Kart night recently. That was pretty fun. I don't know if that was the one-off and trying to schedule another one or... And OTAS, just the empire keeps growing, which is awesome. Yeah. Okay, so part of what I'm trying to do here is turn over a new leaf about as far as keeping my colors and my tones kind of local. In other words, finding, as opposed to grabbing colors off of the photo every time, I'm grabbing colors that live in the painting. Seems kind of a no-brainer, but we keep saying we're going to do another one. It just hasn't happened yet. OTAS is also going to be helping me practice Z1. Great. Wait, have you started running Z1? Is that something you're going to do on the stream? Like on OTAS's stream? Or what's the plan with that? That sounds awesome. That's getting a little smudgy there. I want to keep it brushy. I don't know if this is stream, but eventually I'm going to stream on my own. Awesome. That's great. This is totally AI. Zeldavania. Oh, wow. Nice emote there. Meanwhile, I was getting a... I don't want that to look like a furry tail. Well, we'll have to blur it and blend it. Yeah, that's great. Gosh, it brings back haunting memories. All right. So, as we saw, so if we really squint down, we can find areas in the background here that are darker. Zeldavania, I'm still inspired by your feedback, unintentional though it may be, to get me grabbing colors from my painting. But we're in a new territory right now. We're in new territory because we're doing this grading. Do you remember in the movie, anyone, when this grading got melted down by the blood from the aliens? That was awesome. Remember? That scared me. So there's a little bit of a shadow over here. We're going to try and get this going. The colors and detail match so well. Thanks, buddy. Are you talking about up in the big picture here? Like, I worked on Newt and Ripley a lot, and I actually kept things local and kept things brushy, and it really helped focus, whether just subconsciously or not. It really helped me keeping my it kept me feeling more fresh and less like a copy machine and more like an artist. So that was awesome. Felt good. And I'm going to be crediting you for that, because you were asking about my weakness. What I consider a weakness is just the easy way out, which is grab the colors off the photo, which I'm doing as we speak because I'm trying to chat, and there's less thinking involved when I do this. Okay, so all right, so there's like a little shadow on the right, a little shadow on the side, blah bitty blah. Let's find out what's happening with this little wispies of colors here. Wispies around the shoes. Now, here's a fun fact that I'd like to uncover, if it's possible. We know Reebok had the product placement contract on Ripley's shoes. Do you think Newt's sneakers are also Reebok? I went to the Goonies Museum in like Oregon. Sarah B, no, can you ID those shoes? Or can we get an ID on those kicks that Newt is wearing? Maybe Google Lens could hunt them down. They mostly come out at night, mostly. Yeah, I was thinking the same. Look at that. And I'm guessing we can have, there's some clips there that we can, good call. And I think, all right, another thing. So I was up in Astoria, Oregon with the express purpose of visiting the Goonies house. This was a few summers ago. And it was a successful trip. I got to go to the house, and I didn't go to the house. I just parked on the sidewalk and looked at it. And then we went to the Goonies. There's a Goonies museum. There's a lot of Goonies stuff there. And in the jailhouse, the jailhouse is now the museum. So if you ever get a chance to go there, I had even forgotten about the jailbreak scene at the beginning of the movie, but that's like what kicks it all off. And it's like Mama and the boys are escaping from jail. So anyway, that's where the museum is. There's a Goonies museum inside that old jail. And when you go in there, you can see Data's backpack, which is a North Face. It's like a prototype North Face backpack. Yellow and black. It's pretty cool. But this was before anybody really had known about North Face, at least in the mainstream. So you can see that. And yeah, that's a fun trip if you can make it. Yeah, those Newt's shoes seem kind of generic. Yeah. Oh, Zeldavania, the areas between the grating won't be too fun. No, you know what? And that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is lay the pipe, so to speak, of the grating and get that done first, and then chop in with the dark shadow. And that's going to make it pretty easy. I'm going to keep it as light as possible, but or keep the workload down, as I am wont to do. So I'm also thinking about keeping things very rudimentary kind of here. Yeah, Nike is a good bet. I guess, can we call up some video from when Newt is running around? I mean, I'm not second guessing you there, but I would like to get some visual, just for artistic purposes. No, there's no, it's just a mere curiosity. Oh yeah, yeah. It looks. That's what they look like. You know, with that white sole. Like Reebok always had some extra design goodies going on. One thing I've seen recently were like maybe, could those be Sauconys? I don't know. Probably not. They're just like, Mr. Rogers, speaking of portraits done on this channel, and Nikes, he has some sick Nikes in this one episode. And you can see that a child has like drawn on them with a ballpoint pen, and I think it's like his kid has drawn on them, but they're like, I'll try and call up a picture of them at some point. All right, we're just getting these like swirly curlies going in the background. We want this to seem painterly, in other words, like a paint brushstroke. One thing that's really cool about this photo is that it's backlit, and I think this strap, at least if it's not, it just appears that the light is cascading out from the strap. So it's kind of like blocking. Oh, nice. Sarah B just looked it up. They are indeed Nike. Yeah. Good work there. And if you're curious, look up the Data's backpack from Goonies. Data has appeared in many movies recently. I'm glad that he's gotten that chance to have a reboot. So see, you got to find little shapes like that. It looks like a kind of dragon head in the or snake head in the background, or whatever the shape of the level 5 dungeon is. Is that level 5? I've already forgotten. Yeah, the good thing here is you can get big brushes and we're just getting like 3 basic tones. That's kind of like what we were getting at the other day, Zeldavania. Like, you have to find dark, middle, and light. Okay. And once you grab a dark and middle and light from a certain passage, then you can just reuse that stuff. So, for example, did you look it up? I tried image searching, but didn't help. Sarah B got it. Yeah, it's interesting to find out about how some of these like little production things happened. Like, I mentioned the other day, like Megadeth and Metallica. Megadeth had some kind of like, they were paid in Nikes at one point for something. And that's why they were always wearing those like you know, basketball high tops. Look at this swirly, swirly do. What I think I was looking at my stats the other day. Right. Run DMC was probably paid in Adidas. Yeah, we want this to look... See, here's an example where if you start smoothing all that stuff out in the background, it's going to look less like a painting and more like a photo. And I could do that, but A, it's going to take forever. And B, I kind of like this more abstract path we're going down. Up here you can really see how that's starting to look. I zoom out a little bit. Really, this is our chance. We can, you know, see how there's like this blast of light from the backlight? You know that's all going to be light, so you could just sort of find the boundary to it. And then come in here, hit it up, try not to, you know, fill in the... Try not to mess up what you got going in the background. Ooh, that's nice. That's a nice, satisfying blast of light. And then let's get this one. You know, it's like a very clear delineation, or should be clear. Is that clear enough? I want the darkest dark there. There's another one. Wisps of... And by the way, I don't think this scene was ever in the film. Prove me wrong, but I think this is a promotional shot. Whoa, okay. There's some cloudy business. Zeldavania, the splotchy fits the photo. Yeah. Keep it splotchy, right? To that end, I kind of like the splotchy pants a little bit. Right? We're going to try and keep that quality. You'll see I hit the highlight in Newt's eye recently, and that wasn't wise, because I mean, it was fine. But you can see it's just way too big and it's in the wrong place. So it looks like she's like deer in headlights. In the photo, she's looking up more. And that has everything to do with where that highlight is. But I just had to get something down. All right. Let's find out. Gosh. I'm going to grab this. We can kind of keep this outline of the gun strap. That's this artsy fartsy stuff that I'm afraid of doing because I was trained by a pretty dogmatic, eccentric dogmatic. My art teacher was like, don't do artsy fartsy stuff. So, I'm working through traumas as we speak. Okay. So by leaving those like outlines, you give it that kind of comic book look. Okay. Here. Did we get this? Let's get this. So you can see this triangle shape. If you flick your eye back and forth, you can see there's like a blast of light coming off of her elbow. Really nice kind of, oops. I'm not even looking. Come on, we got to zoom in. Okay. The blast of light coming off the forearm here, very important. How does it wrap up and around? Let's examine that. Something like that. All right. We're going to start to see swirly curlies coming through. There we go. Sometimes this stuff is the most fun. You're not under pressure and you can kind of enjoy it more. Okay. We got wisps in the top right corner. Let's see. All right. This is all like one value here. I'm starting to muck it up there a little bit. We don't want to do that. We don't want it to be too much like risotto in here. We wanted a smooth feel. Okay. I like how that's looking. Let's block in the rest of the knee here. Or the outline where the knee is. Zeldavania, be right back. See you in a bit. We are gonna try to block in our You can make that kind of look like clouds on a cloudy day. And here's the dark from the strap here. It's almost like this. And now we'll I think what I'm going to do is limit myself on the background a little bit. So what I'll do is keep working our way up. Are we recording? Are we recording? Yes. Thank goodness. We're recording. We got that time lapse going. Seems there's a kind of uniform light blue underneath with bits of darker on top. Sorry, I missed that. Yes. So yeah, that's an interesting, I think what you're talking about is something that I was curious about with, if I'm painting in the studio, usually what I'll do is usually I will grab a brush and water it down with turpentine and really, ooh, look at this wispy stuff. It's too wispy. Oh, this is going to be fun. Let's leave it like that for now. Ooh, that's artsy fartsy. Huh? Let me explain this. Or try to. I'm thinking about it. Oop. Imagine that you have a brush that's soaked in turpentine. With said brush, you can scrub in very quickly the entire blue of the grate. You find the middle value, you scrub it in quickly with wet paint. You don't have to build up thick strokes of paint. And then over the top of that, you hit the darks and the lights, and then you're done. Because with digital painting, I haven't figured out how to do like thin washes of turpentine, we are going to build it up bit by bit. And that means knowing which to put first. And I think you're right. There's like a dark blue or a middle blue. So now we're going to find basically our middle blue, which is going to be something like that. And that's going to fill in all the rest of our grading because we don't really care about details on this grading. We don't want there to be some kind of, what's the word? we don't really need it to be like hyper detailed. We want it to be accurate in terms so that the eye just kind of glazes over it. We don't want we don't want you staring at the floor, but we want it to be not. We don't want it to. We want it to just fall back in your subconscious so you're not staring at it. And the way to do that, I think, is keep it broad and keep the colors relatively accurate. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So, how do we do this? Squinting, looking here for a basic color. See, that's the right color for this part of this region of the floor. Okay, we're just hitting it. See what I mean by that? This is our basic blue that you're talking about, I think, with darks and lights floating on top of it. But instead of being able to fill it in all at once, we have to kind of paste it in piece by piece, and that's fine. See up here, you can see there's a little bit of, there we go. Whoops. So we now the crossbars, the horizontal bars on this are going to be a little lighter. But yeah, this is, like I say, this is this industrial mode that you have to go into where you kind of, what's the most efficient way to solve this very, I mean, this is not like painting a tree where you can get away with murder. Actually, no, I would sort of argue that. When you're painting a tree, it's sort of the same. You have to maintain the basic structure. But this is so repetitious. Like, it's repetitious in a way that nature is not. So if you're painting windows on a building, it's just repetitive and it needs to be mathematically accurate. Whereas if you're painting a tree, you can kind of mock the you can kind of what's the word? Not pretend, but you can invent treeness with your brush. If you try to invent how the grates work on this without thinking about it, it's gonna turn messy. In my opinion, it's, the whole thing is being able to be repetitious with slight variation, and if you did triangles for every one of these little dark splotches, it wouldn't add up, wouldn't look right. All right, let's see what we got. Now this is a nice big area of light. See, we're just trying to find the general pattern of that floor in terms of how the light Sarah B., I have to go get ready for my appointment. I'll see you later, my friend. Sarah B., thank you for coming by, and all the best to you guys. I'll be in on the stream soon. Say hi to Big Otas for me, and good luck with everything. Let me see if I can... All right. Thanks, Sarah. Bye-bye. What did I... No. Yeah, I did a funny thing here. I'm going to erase... Interesting. Now I see what happened. Merge layers. Okay. That's what I did. Okie dokie. Let's find out. Okay. What's happening over here, I believe, is that we've got darker slats of metal all the way into the corner here. So keep it, keep it, Gosh, speaking of Zeldavania, I read a review of the new Zelda game, and I was wondering, I'm curious. I mean, sounds like it was a great review. Not quite ready to spring for the whole kit and caboodle, but I may. All right. So let's see here. All right. Now we got to do cross strokes. Regrettably, it is time. And we can hit some lights from up here. It's interesting how we're gonna start finding patterns that live up here. Okay, we'll find out where our lights go. Okay. So now we're going to do the crossbars, right? We're going to do the crossbars. How do we do them? Okay. Meanwhile, I think we can... I'm going to do a little finder work here for a second. We got to get our... All right. We did that. We're going to get our screen recording from yesterday and plop it up online. Okay. That'll be about 20 minutes of upload ski. And then we can keep going. All right. What else is going to happen here? We're going to do our sideways, our horizontals. I know. We don't want to do them, but we have to. Okay. And then we can do our the other horizontals are going to be a little too big. So we'll just come right in here. We'll find our dark. We can rely quite heavily on our underdrawing here. Can we zoom out and do this? Nah. There's only one way. And that's forward. Okay, we're looking left, looking right, looking all around for any xenomorph action. This will be fun. At least I'm not going to just fill this in like it's a tax return. It's got to be, we got to look at what we're doing. Sorry. Yeah, the whole thing about this is it's repetition of form, but it's also knowing how and where to blur the edges. Okay, zooming out. My goodness. Okay, dark. Let's just get in here, right? Quietly, boringly. This is literally when painting becomes like building a brick wall. And it's one of those moments where you can kind of relax. But we're also I'm uploading a file at the moment, so apologies if the stream is getting chopped up. Trying to make some space on my hard drive here for something. Yeah. So, see that? We're going to be putting in our darks. Because really at this point, that's what the fence is all about. We're trying to think about this grate in an industrial way and dispatch it as such. Dispense with it, dispatch it. We got to be quick about this, right? Because look, we're going to start getting Just filling in the blanks here. I honestly don't know what I would do if it weren't for, I'd probably have to squint and just wrap it up the way, you would, just sort of get the basic shape, the basic color values, but you wouldn't kind of get the choppiness of it. I don't know. I'm torn. Next time you might see me try to do this kind of work in a more artistic way and less kind of paint by numbers. That's all right. We're glorified paint by numbers. We're not going to tell anyone. Really tough, because it's not. I mean, this is kind of fun in and of itself. I think I could see what's happening here. If I can finally get this stuff in here, like here, let's get over here. You're not going to see me go wacky trying to get all the highlights on the fence. Because I'm, I like a challenge, but that's ridiculous. How are we doing with dropped frames here? Is my stream just like a total wreck? I shouldn't be uploading a giant file right now, but I am. And then once I do, I'm gonna free up some hard drive space. So apologies if you're hoping to see each and every slat of this grate. Okay. No, we got a pocket dial. All right, you can see where things got extra what happened? You can see it. Where I began to lose I'm we're not going to get in here and do every little nut and bolt here. I mean, I've said this now a million times. Just do the work, right? Here I am procrastinating. Get to work. Nine minutes left on our file upload. We are uploading yesterday's stream to the cloud. No, yesterday's time-lapse video to the cloud, having exported an MP4 with which to make our final time-lapse. Most likely this is going to be, what is this, the fourth day? 3, 6, 9, 12. Is that correct? 12 hours. The rat has finally been caught in our neighborhood. What is it, next door? I don't know. There's a rat. In New York City? You gotta be kidding me. What's happened to our lives? And then when I found pot in her room, she said it belonged to a friend. Those commercials, I don't know if you were around when those were a thing, but those scared the bejeepers out of me. It was like the tone. And now that's just like, you'll see that kind of thing happen in like a Disney movie, where the tone and the music gets really scary, and these kids are exposed to all kinds of emotional distress in ways they weren't before in the 80s. And, it's like the parents today think they're protecting the kids from the distress. But, like, look at the media. Like, the media is... Anyway, this is the same argument they were making back in the 80s, so it's like some steps forward and some step back. But it's just ironic that, like, with such a high attention for, regulating emotions and everything, back in the day, it used to be like, all right, we'll give them one scary commercial about pot. And, like, the rest was all sort of, everything's fine. Here, have your Cheerios and your... But there's, like, one commercial. Now it's like you're seeing commercials for people, like, I don't know. I'm going to ease off on my politics rant because I don't have any... data with which to back up my argument, but all right, look, there we go. We're starting to see our colors, our patterns. We're going to find our... So part of what I'm doing, this is a little bit of a top secret, but part of what I'm doing is building up a portfolio of digital illustrations, as realistic as these are, and like I'm trying to get my what's the word? I'm trying to get my portfolio like speaking different languages, essentially. Like, yes, you can do oil painting, but can you also do graphic illustration? And I can, but I've never really pushed myself to. I'm sorry. Pushed myself to learn how to do it in a kind of, I don't know, industrial, not industrial, but like in a sustained practice of it. So, I often tend to be like, oh, I can do that, and then just move on and find something else fun to do. But I'm getting too old for that. I gotta put down a mark and leave it there. All right. So we got a couple more slats in the old grating fence to do. And then we can take it from there. Okay. Some more darks in the fence. Find out where they live. There's a happy little darkest dark. There's a happy little darkest dark. And just a little darkest dark. Oh, interesting. Look, the red of the shoe. Is that reflecting off of there? Yeah, that's awesome. Magnificent set design, if I don't say so myself. And here. And painting ourselves into a corner here. In a good way, maybe. Really getting these slats in here. If we don't do this quick, this is gonna... I wonder if there's a correlation between how bored... Like, is there a correlation between... hang on a sec. God. For instance, like, I've noticed that when in the time lapse, people like drop off when the when it gets to like a background. And that makes a lot of sense because it's like, oh, like, I don't want to watch this guy paint a bunch of... And I wonder if there's a correlation for when people fall off the live stream. Not that we have enough data to test that, but it's just in another interesting thing. All right, here. See these? There's one here and one here. One, two, three, and then this one. Okay. Giant. Now we really have to pay attention. Said that before. We missed one here. Yep, there we go. We found it. Lost and found. That was tricky. I don't want to hold. I'm holding on for dear life here because I know what's next. Something even harder. Shadows, 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 shadows. Shadows, more shadows and shadows. It never ends, it never ends. Okay. I don't know what happened there, but yikes. All right, we've uploaded our file successfully, and then we can go back to our Finder and dump this one. And then we can empty the trash. Yay. All right. Where are we? Pardon me. So, what can we do here? Well, a number of things. We can find our cross edge, because look, most of the horizontal bars are treating the light like a highlight. Now, that's a pretty good approximation. So we're going to get in here and do some crossbars. Probably don't even need to do them because the canvas will take care of that. But since we're being extra diligent, oh boy. Being extra diligent, don't hit that button again, please. Oh, for God's sakes. Zeldavania, welcome back. Yeah, that was just paint by numbers. Blocked them in, right? And now we're doing the cross hatching. Sad but true. This is that. It's going to be that kind of day. Not the cross hatching, but we're just going in here and getting the horizontal strokes. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be cool. Like in the time lapse, like you're going to see the like of the darks filling in. I think that'll be cool. But right now we're doing our horizontals. Yikes, stripes. All right, did we solve that? I mean, it's not going to be horrible to leave it like that, but I'm not ready to throw in the towel just yet. We're going to do our cross hatch. They're not cross hatches. What do I mean by that? I mean, oh, postseason Mets on sale. I see. Well, the Mets, if anyone's interested, had their game postponed. Very critical game was postponed to a double header on Monday. And that's only if they're going to need to play it, which is probably pretty likely because the game was against the third place Atlanta Braves, with whom the Mets are vying for a wild card berth, and on and on. So let's hope that rescheduled game goes well. All right, so you see we're just blasting through with our cross strokes here, and then there's going to be a lot of canvas coming through, like it or not. There's going to be a lot of canvassy stuff happening here in the end. See? All right, now we find a generic kind of purple color, because look, the top is blue, the cast shadow is purple in most of these cases. Okay, so what we'll do is find a basic, that's too dark, but here's just an example. And we're going the other way. So it's filling in the blanks here. And it is so boring. Okay. So boring. But the more we get these chopped in here, the closer we get to our time-lapse glory. Let's get our darkest dark running up through the middle here. It's an easy one. A no-brainer, as they say. Racine Zoo. We're getting emails, texts. We got to get out of here and address some of that stuff today, unfortunately, but I knew the we got to just take this one area at a time. I knew this fence would be hard. It's kind of like the last thing in Rogers when what was it that we worked on that was a real pain in the neck? It was the tie or the sweater or something. I forget. You just weren't getting the kind of action that you're looking for. You want it to be fun all the time. If you're looking for it to be fun all the time, you're in the wrong trade. There we go. It's looking pretty good. I'm looking for that brink, dink, 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 dink. Something like that. Once again, find our Okay, so look, this is interesting because the grate here is not this is the sort of thing where the color provides that kind of, you see those two marks in the grate? It gives it that, throws off the pattern, and it indicates to the eye that there's something unique happening there. So here, let's put gonna get in here. Ba-da-dun, da-da-dun-dun-dun. This is the countdown to extinction. Okay. Let's get some more blues. Blues. This is the countdown. My goodness. We're still here. We're still plowing along. You know, you see these artists who just do the little tiny little cross hatching. Makes you think. Why do they do that? Put this in here. Okay, we're filling in the blanks here. That's all it is. It's the world's most boring thing to do. But it's got to be done. It's got to be done. I like the stylization of the pants. It's the least accurate part, but it's cool. Zeldavania, that's exactly right. Like that's what I'm going for. I want that stylization look throughout. And it's one of those things like, how do you, because it's almost like my brain still wants to get it accurate, and it won't let me sort of be loose. Like I'm too tightly wound. So, but yeah, to better times, like let's get more of those examples of things like in the pants, and maybe that's taking a risk in our in the fence here, in the grating. But yeah, I'm with you 100%. That's sort of my favorite part of it. That and the outlines over the hair and stuff. I like that. It's artsy fartsy. And yes, right, Newt's hair. Yep. I agree. It's like making it better than the photo. That's the whole thing. And sometimes we're caught in a world between making it look like the photo and making it actually something that's more interesting than a photo. And part of what can do that are the mistakes and the limitations of the medium. Whereas if you're going over here and just grabbing colors from the photo and not relying on, the more you grab colors from the photo, the less likely it is to have that stylized, unique look, because you're sampling directly from the source. And subconsciously, you're going to get results that are, it's a different animal. All right, so here we gotta do something here. I don't even know which of these grades. This is the other thing about doing this great work, is like you get lost. Like, which one of these am I in? The real friends are the mistakes we made along the way. Exactly. It's like when you listen to a jazz performance, it's like the little happy accidents that make it so interesting. Gosh. Whoop. Nope. Let's see. Zooming out. At a certain point, I'm going to get bored of this grating. It's coming soon. I'm telling you, I'm going nuts over here in the fence. Let's find a dark like that. That fits. It's grating me. Yes, it is. It's beginning to grate for sure. It's not a fun. Well, I can say you're doing great work. Thank you. The comic relief is everything here. It keeps me going. Now look, there's that reflection off the shoe. All right, you see all of these grays that I've left? They're actually all more this kind of lighter gray. So we're going to put them in. And yes, I stole them, but they're all the same from up here. This reminds me of before I went to art school, and I was learning how to paint by numbers. Literally, they would be like, "Here, make a grid, and you make a grid, and then you just transfer everything over from the grid, and everyone's happy." But the truth is, it leaves something wanting. Okay, how's this looking? Got some more darks we need to do. And I think V can do them. So we're just moving on in. Darkest darks. Darkest darks, darkest darks. Darkest darks. We're just guessing now where all this stuff goes. Who cares? I want to be done with it. Let's take a little bit of this, fill in that. Whoops. When you suffer through this for long enough, you're going to never want to paint a fence again. Never paint a fence again. There's got to be a way to do this in a more painterly way, but we don't have time to learn what that is. Unless you're Huck Finn. Yeah, that's right. I do. I would like to. I think one of the reasons that I don't on the stream is because I don't want my VOD being muted. Not that that's a huge problem, but I also am streaming over on YouTube, and I figure they're pretty horrible about copyright. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that? Is there any way to avoid that? One thing I heard is that you can, if I were to have headphones and put it on my OS, have the music going through there, then you can put it on a channel that doesn't get VOD'd. So we could all listen to it in the moment, but then on the VOD it would be gone. DJ tool for safe music. Oh, huh. What's that like? Like copyright safe music? One thing I really like to do is listen to nonfiction books when I paint. And I figure those might be exempt from copyright in some cases because, like, well, no, probably not, but worth a try. And then the other thing that I thought of, for better and worse, I do listen to a fair amount of Grateful Dead and occasionally Fish. And that's not all I'm not just a jam person, but if I listen to jam, yeah, audiobooks, that's all I do. Basically. And then the other thing you could do is listen to like live recordings, but talk about aliens alienating. Nobody wants to hear Fish. So I've decided I'm just going to keep it silent. There's enough going on anyway, like in terms of, I don't know. But yeah. So here we go. I was going to ask what style, like classical or something, wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, like who's trying to make me right? Exactly. These are the things that I think about. Let's get rid of her furry tail a little bit more here. These are the things that I think about and never really get around to solving or sort of cracking the code on. But, yeah. Right, like jam music, they release like Fish allows tapers to just tape every concert. So it's sort of hard for them to police that kind of thing. On the flip side, the reason they let it out for free is because nobody's buying it. I mean, they're going to the shows. They're not buying. Anyway, it's a conundrum. Nobody wants to hear it. So I listen to, classical would be great. Like, but I think again there are recordings which are very clearly, by the way, I'm filling in these blanks here. There are recordings which are clearly like it's not with classical music, because the idiosyncrasies of each little like movement, and like just like the organic nature of a live recording of a classical piece. I'm guessing that those machines, the bots that search for copyright problems, can tell the difference between one performance or another. Even if the copyright is in the public domain for that piece, the recording is just like when if you look at artwork, if you look at photos of paintings, high-res paintings, you have to pay for that because somebody took the photo at the museum. Anyway. Interesting. What happened there? I lost the top of my... That's great work. Yeah, we could listen to some Grateful Dead. But I think a lot of that stuff, who knows? I think a lot of it is like, here, what's, you listen to Grateful Dead from an old hippie friend. I didn't get the appeal. Colorful shirts, but boring music to me. Yeah. Yeah, the way I listen to them is definitely from like a musician's standpoint. If you like playing guitar changes a little bit, because I see it like it's kind of like an Olympic, it's like an athletic event what they're doing, because they're on a tightrope and there's no net. It's like, are they going to be able to, they don't have practiced forms. It's all improvised. Even though they know the chord progression of the song and all that, what they're doing on the spot is improvised. So when, from a guitar player's perspective, it's like a feat of athletic, it's like, whoa, like he's coming up with that on the spot. And many musicians and bands out there today couldn't hold a candle in terms of what they're doing. But, so yeah, then they go really freeform and get super psychedelic, which then that alienates me as from my perspective. Like, it's like too freeform, but mostly it's like, all right, like there's a song, Franklin's Tower, for example, one of many that they drone on jamming to for hours, not hours, but many minutes. And people complain about it, that it just repeats and sounds the same. It's 3 chords. It's just three chords, one after the other. But over the top of that, Jerry is playing lyrical, improvised, melodic solos, which can't be repeated. They can if you stop the tape and study them, and that's what I did growing up learning how to play guitar. I would just put on a Grateful Dead live recording and try and noodle along with it. And so I guess that's where I'm at with the Dead, is like, I listen to it from the perspective of, wow, imagine what it would be like to play guitar like that on the spot. And that brings a value to it, to me. But it's also, I find the music quite beautiful. It's not, for everyone's taste, that twangy country stuff can be boring. But I'd call it maybe an acquired taste. And what's the other one? Fish. Yeah, I'm not. It's hard to make. It's a harder case to sell. It's a harder sell, that band, I would say. But all right. So what's going on here? It looks like we're pretty good on the fence right now. I'm on the fence. Anyone? All right. We'll be coming back to it. But for right now, I'm going to do my best Here, look, see this beautiful color that we already used over here? Beautiful colors. But yeah, one of these days, like when I was doing the Dateline people, I had like a podcast going. And I know that this shouldn't just be about like getting and retaining viewers, but I am curious. Like if I put on something like that, a podcast, is that going to be more annoying or less annoying than me blabbing about, you know, pest control? I don't know. Like I'm curious about what it is that is going to optimize the experience for anybody who is coming by. But I'm also aware that it's hard to optimize something that's just very raw. I mean, this is boring. It's like, it's just one after the other, one stroke by stroke, brick by brick. So I don't know. I put that out to you guys, and I think it's telling that that's a question on your mind. Is like, where's the music? You know, like what do you listen to when you do this stuff? Top 10 tips for pest control. Exactly. I mean, it's all it's all right. It's in the painting, right? I mean, this is the subject matter. Get a giant cannon. And first save a young child from the nest of roaches or fleas. But yeah, and that begs another question, like what can I do with these, with the videos? Oh, look at this. What can I do with the VODs and like edit them later? So, all right, can we get this stylized up here? So let's grab, look, there's a dark that comes through here. All right, that's our dark. I grabbed it, I stole it. And we're just gonna find our happy clouds. Right, these are happy. I would consider these happy clouds. Pay no mind to the xenomorph queen that's just off camera. We can still find joy in the nature. And all right, put this one through to here. What's in the top right corner? This is that like kind of tie-dye. Talk about the Grateful Dead. You could get lost in these sort of psychedelic forms. That was Bob Ross's secret. He was just dosed. All right, we're going to do a few of these. Oops, nope. Yeah. No, I'm with you. How can we really spice this up? Top 10 tips for pest control. That's great. All right, kind of cool, like the mist coming in here, right? And we don't want to we don't want to do anything. I don't know. I think we still. Oh, there we go. I think we still want to. Here, let's find our darkest dark in the top right corner. Shum, shum, shum. And then a little less dark. Shum, shum, shum. Now a little bit lighter now. Coming in this way. That's that kind of Vincent van Gogh thing there, huh? What do the kids think about that? Come on, portrait painters. If you're listening, now's your chance. If this is an art, I don't know what is. I'm not an art critic, but I can sure as hell tell you it's fun. Oh, I've just been invited. Somehow I got on like a political, I think I was in one of the elections. I'd signed up for alerts from all candidates just to know like what was going on and and I just got a major invitation to head down to HQ. Okay, wispy, how do we do? We've got to find this cloud shape too. Cool. Do we want to leave that stuff like that? I mean, I don't, but I might. Wispy. Squint. Find it. Squint. I'm really stealing basic highlight shapes. But you can see what I'm. You can see that each realm of the sky or the background has its different like this has the purpley, this is the aqua, and this is that like purpley white and oh yeah, hang on, I'm getting a text comment which was, maybe you have an artist special guest each episode so that it's an interview conversation while you paint. Definitely. That is for sure something I've dreamed of. In fact, I had you can go off on tangents and then return to the painting. Yeah, I had a great I had a show. I did one episode of a show where I went into, it was called Inside the Artist's Studio. Very original title. But it was, the basic idea for the show was the artist sets up a camera in their studio, and when they do that, so the artist sets up a camera in their studio and basically brings me on a tour of their studio. And we did one episode of it, and it was great, and we chopped it down into like 30 minutes or something from like 3 hours of footage. But hang on a sec. Let's see. Yeah, it was great. I think it actually did pretty well in terms of like just an out of the blue podcast idea. It got some footage. So I think that's definitely great. Like in the other corner of the screen, you could have somebody else's head from their studio, whatever they're doing. And yeah, and there's also a good way. That's also a good way to hang on, let me. Yeah, so it's also a good way to get their. Sorry, Zeldavania says that swirly technique is interesting. I would have just laid down a few big areas of blue and then mixed in other shades. Yes. Yeah, I'm like building it up because it's like fun, and maybe I'll leave some of it crazy like that. I don't know. But, and here I am stealing colors from the photo again, but, yeah, like have another artist on the other side of the screen, and then it's also a good way to like promote other artists' work, and that's then their channel can be linked in somehow, and so yeah, definitely these are all things I've thought about, and the specifics are up to me to kind of to execute. But another thing that I want to do soon, there's a lot of things sort of on the horizon, like a studio visit where I'm going to do this in the studio, but it's hard to get all the equipment set up over there. So really what I'm sort of aiming for is to learn the equipment in this kind of setup. Sorry, I'm getting too specific there. Learn how the equipment works for this approach and be like able to do this in my sleep, and then bring in other elements like what you're saying. I'm not paint Zeldavania, and then we paint the happy great. I'm not painting the happy great again. I'm done with it. I will be. I know I'm going to get lured back into it, but I'm going to resist it for now. Okay, I like the like curly wisps coming off of like Newt on the side and everything. I don't want to be. Well, here, let's just keep going and see what happens. Happy clouds. Bob Ross somehow made long conversations with himself, but he was doing tutorials. That's right. Yeah. There's so many balls to keep up in the air, like, and he was a genius at that. He would suddenly tell a story and then he'd say, okay, now let's get our Van Dyke Brown. Take your palette knife and get a roll of the titanium white. And he just had no, part of that probably was just the experience. So that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like the more I can learn how to paint while there's supposed to be something interesting happening on screen, the better. It's kind of a muscle to have the painting happening while there's people expecting entertainment. So the painting itself is somewhat entertaining, but really only when you're painting in these. When I get into details, it ceases to be entertaining. because you can't see them changing on the screen. Like, I'm aware that on the stream, there's nothing really interesting happening when I'm getting into the fine details. So that's another thing to contend with. So yeah, this like background stuff, like it's funny because when I started, one of the original ideas for this thing was to like the original idea for this stream or for the paintings that I was going to do were all Nintendo people. Like years ago, I wanted to paint a portrait of Hip Tanaka, who's the guy that wrote the Metroid music, or at least wrote the music for the first Metroid. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I learned from his Wikipedia page that he was a portraiture enthusiast. He's a photographer, but he also loves portraits. I later came to find out that he has portraits of himself on his blog, and that people have sent in. So I thought, oh, that would be cool. Like, the pipe dream was travel to Kyoto and have him sit for at least a photograph, if not the whole, do the pose thing. And with all, oh gosh, what's happening here? I've really got to work here. Okay, that's crazy, but kind of cool. If and when I did something like that, what I wanted to do was do like a portrait of him, and then in the background, it would be like kind of abstract bits and pieces of like the Metroid games, and I don't know how to describe it, but the background would have like choppy indications of like the Metroid universe. So I say that because now when I'm painting the background here, this is kind of the style that I was imagining would go well, like this sort of almost like Van Gogh, Keith Haring, wiggly stuff in the background, if that makes any sense. But yeah, there's a lot that I think we can do. And the main thing is, I think the first step is for me to just build up a portfolio of work and build up my confidence as a streamer, and then step over to tweaking the content and making it interesting. Now, with that said, you better, the longer you wait, you got to try stuff, but I'm still not entirely confident with my painting in this context. So because a big part of this is the what do you call it? The background, the time lapse. I like the way this is looking. How's that stylization going there, Zeldavania, if you're there? The big purpose of this is to get a nice time lapse, because ultimately those time lapses are what the general public is going to be interested in looking at, is like the fast videos. So that means I can't get distracted too much. I have to be continuing to paint so that my post-production on that time-lapse video doesn't turn into a 6-hour, all right, and then I stop painting here for 5 minutes, and all that kind of thing happens. All right, we're going to get our brush marks going. And all right, if you zoom in too tight there, yeah, this is kind of fun. I mean, I like the aquamarine wormies going on over her head. It's kind of like, I don't know. Is it too artsy fartsy? Probably, but so we got about a half hour to go on this. I could almost see myself just leaving it as is. Not as is, but let's get back into I could almost see myself like putting this down for a bit. Or at least like getting the time lapse. There's some critical things that I would want to fix before. Okay. So here, good example here. Let's just fix the gun. Or this MacBook, Apple PowerBook. That would be a fun thing. At one point, I think I bought an Apple PowerBook from a junkyard for like $20. And I wanted to paint it or photograph it. Okay. We're just going to feed in our darker darks here. We'll zoom in, chop it up. Before we go any farther, I'm tired of Newt's highlight in the eye. I'm going to fix that right now. It's too sharp. Oh my God. Are you kidding? That's what's going to have to happen? All right. I don't know. Better? A little bit. Still pretty awful. All right. Squinting all the way down. Let's find a value for the pants here. And Zeldavania, we're going to try not to lose the vibes. Now some of that, again, you'll see as some of the vibe there is, again, like you said, the happy accidents. We can feed in. There's one there. There's a highlight. Kind of G.I. Joe pants. All right, should we get the Nikes going, or the there's an example where I don't have the right color at all for the strap. I stole it from the strap below, which is not the right color. And look what I'm doing. I'm already botching it. Here. Get this in here. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, great feedback today. I'm really pleased to have that feedback, because now I'm thinking about, okay, what's the next step? Get a purple. We're going to grab more purple. Wow, this is shaping up to be a real nightmare. Oh, yep. This is it's not, we're not talking about the painting, even though that is too, but it's a conversation about this Mets playoff game, the reschedule of the game. Okay, so now is like an example where I'm not really working. I'm not thinking enough about what I'm doing. And I got to get into it. It's good to be off the hook. But yeah, see, the reason this is working, I would say, is the choppiness of it. It's kind of, you know, the more you blur those edges, the less choppy it becomes. Happy face hunter. Zeldavania. Happy shooter. Sorry, I keep coming in and out because I can't watch two streams at once on phone. No problem. Thank you for watching at all. Zeldavania says, and we get a happy face hugger over here. Yeah. Yes. Oh, I just stole more color from the photo. Yeah, so some of this is just grabbing the right color at the right time and not getting too swept up in the actual oh, thanks for the sub, R. Reestland. Got a new YouTube subscriber. Now, one thing that I haven't figured out how to do is get the chat, the live stream sub. I mean, the YouTube live stream chat is a mystery to me. I had somebody yesterday was watching and trying to chat, and I missed all the chats, and I can't even see what they were after the fact. So every platform has its little idiosyncrasies that I've got to get a hold of. Another thing I'd like to do is get the chat from Twitch to come up on get the Twitch chat to come up on YouTube and vice versa. All right, let's see. And something else over here. So it's a lot of patchy business happening here, and that's fine. How about our dark? Cool boots, Ripley. Watch out, there's a xenomorph queen behind you. What are those shoes she's wearing? Are they like snowboard boots from the 80s? Yeah, this photo comes from a Time magazine article from when Reebok reissued those shoes and sold them. And they were just made for this movie, as far as I know. But there's a Time magazine article about the shoes and the reissue. They're pretty cool, though. And it also reminded me of like the self-lacing Back to the Future ones. Like at some point, I think the shoe companies got into the product placement thing, and there was a lot of even in the entertainment industry, like in the 80s, that there's a story of Megadeth receiving like a pallet of Reebok Alien Stompers for $3,500 on eBay. I wonder what they went for. Yep. And so I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Oh, nice. Wow, there's a great picture here of these. Those are cool. Really? 3,500? Those are awesome. Man, I wonder how many they re-released. Like, we were talking about the Goonies backpack. There's a Goonies backpack. Data's backpack is a North Face backpack that I've actually seen in the Goonies Museum. was like a prototype North Face backpack. And it's cool, but it's like probably too niche. I don't think anybody noticed. Whereas these alien stompers probably get a little more attention. Who knows? 3,500. Is that really what the cost is? I might pay $350 for that. I wonder what they were re-released for. Was it like the 30th anniversary? Speaking of product placement, should I get my those are terrific. All right. It's coming into focus here, I think. What are we at? Well, let me let chat weigh in. Should I stop now and leave it this kind of like sketchy thing, or should I fill in a little more and then stop? Like, here's a good example where there's reflected light coming off. See this? I'll leave that question out there if you want to see me sort of try and pull it to a close in the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or should we do another session on it tomorrow? I'd like to get to another subject tomorrow if possible. But we're certainly finding our way. So here's one of the things that stylizes in you know, back to what you were saying, Zeldavania, about the stylization in the pants. Well, let me just grab an example color here. So here that is not that bright in the photo. It's the wrong color. I mean, I keep saying this. It's like it's because you've made a mistake. Basically, because you didn't study it enough. We got chat on Twitch is pretty tends to be the most active. Twitch is where there's a following, a bit of a following, and so I'm trying to get by having YouTube open. I'm trying to open up the chat gates there, and I think there's a way to get the chat synced. But as far as the stylization thing goes, the way you get that effect is actually by being inaccurate. Like, because I don't have time to sit here and make it perfect, or I don't want to give myself time to do that, then what happens is, you know, like when I was sampling from the photo, I was sampling colors from the photo before, and I got into sort of like you become like a fax machine or a Xerox copy machine. Whereas now it's up to me to do all the dirty work. Zelda, is your YouTube linked on here? It is not linked on here, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. I don't know what potential there is to do that. You mean like, is there the possibility to have YouTube chats appear in the chat stream here? I think that's true, and I think vice versa is true, but I don't know how to do it. And I would like to do that, though. That's kind of a next step. So yeah, keeping it sketchy, keeping it loose is facilitated by laziness, basically. By or just like the limitation that I have as wanting to get this done and not being able to steal colors and shapes from the other from the photo. So basically, the more you leave it up to your mind, to your human skill, the less likely it is to look, the more likely it is to look artistic, basically. All right, so I just plopped in another, that's an example where it's like, all right, that was clumsy, but I like it because if I zoom out, it looks clumsy. But clumsy in a good way, in a stylized sort of like comic booky look. Okay. And all right, so did I just steal from the photo again? Stealing. You know, like all this stuff in here, if I wanted to get in here and get every little highlight, then it would just look like the photo. But I'm making somewhat of a concerted effort to make it look like a piece of art. So we got Twitch saying the sketchy look is good. I think we're in agreement there. I went a little too far in Ripley's shirt. But yeah, if you squint, you can start to see, you know, where am I missing detail? You zoom out and squint your eyes and you flick your eye back and forth and you say, okay, look, here, see this knee? Comes down like that. There's more to it. This knee doesn't just stop there, comes up. Oh, that's exciting. I have a TikTok channel going, and I haven't done any live streams because I can't. I'm not big enough to stream on there. And the other problem would be horizontal streaming. They don't do horizontal. But one day I might do that. But the good thing is they're very receptive on TikTok to the time lapses. Though I get a lot of likes and feedback for those, which I'm very happy about. And I think in part it has to do with like the generation thing. But like on Instagram and, well, Facebook, it's like the least. And my theory is that on Facebook, there tends to be a kind of anti-digital art thing. All right. That's cool, right? I think that looks cool. Let's get the rest of this shadow edge coming in. Shadow edge coming over there, over here, over here, coming through. Just plopping in details there quickly. Did I do anything wrong with the shoes? It reminds me a little of Eddie Van Halen on stage in the late 80s. The setting, the pants, the shoes. Definitely. And that is, we're going to be doing rock stuff, musician stuff for sure. And I get that. I think that is like it's the backlit, the spotlight behind her. And yeah, the kind of like parachute pants. Definitely. That sort of that's the kind of subject matter that I want. All right. Part of me is about to pull the plug on this one. Let me just find out what's happening down here. Are there any... I open it up to the floor here. I'm going to zoom out and take a look. Her clothes are a little dated to that era, definitely. The suspenders thing, I think, doesn't Eddie Van Halen wear the suspenders too sometimes? Or is that Hammer? Okay. Yeah. Filthy shirt. Yeah, that was hard. And when I was doing the Newt's shirt, it was like, you can't even, we had a whole discussion about why that's difficult. It looks like my son after a day at camp. All right. I want to keep some of the canvas coming through here. Now I'm getting lazy by stealing from the photo, by stealing from the painting. There's a certain laziness that happens, and you're not really making a choice anymore. You're just filling in the blanks with what you already have. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to make a choice. Something like that. Really bright here. That's that backlit. It's a promo shot, from what I understand. This doesn't appear in the film. Also, I was saying that the gun, the cannon, evokes like the late 80s Macintosh design, industrial design look. All right, I'm going to grab this. Okay, that's where it starts to get too real. I don't want it to be too real. I don't want to lose this vibe here of the smokiness. Okay. So I like the curly stuff. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about. I got to keep working here on this. Let's block in everything on the gun because I think that's a pretty good focal point. Flick your eye back and forth and find out what the dark stuff is and what the light stuff should be. But yeah, these edges are all like right out of the Apple playbook design. Zeldavania, I follow a few artists and they manage to get a few watchers at a time. I wonder what their secret is because they seem to do what you're doing, just paint and talk. It's funny you say that because last night I was looking at my achievements because I thought, oh, I'm going to be a Twitch affiliate soon. Turns out that's not the case. I need an average of 3 viewers for like 90 days straight or like 90 hours straight. And I'm not there yet, but I think part of the issue is I started this channel as a speedrunner, and now a lot of the followers that I have from speedrunning are probably alienated. It's quite possible. Or just not alienated, but just like, well, I wanted to watch Zelda streams, and that's not what this is. So, but yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It may be like down to just like the age, like maybe like, they're like, who's this old guy? Like what, my niece wants me to do Taylor Swift next. So we'll see if that moves the needle. Yeah, alienated. I think you just have to peak at 3 or 4. I cheated and left my stream going after I hit that. So, what do you mean just have to peak at 3 or 4? You mean to become an affiliate? Dude, and I was going to cheat too, where I have like 2 browsers open watching my stream, but I don't want to do that because then, I really sincerely want it to be organic, if that's what you mean by cheat. How are we going to fill in all this gray stuff? I don't want to fill it in because then it's going to be too, well, here's how we'll do it. Yeah, I want it to be organic because I don't want the ultimate viewers to be cheated. The people who are suffering through ads, I want it to really be that they're there for the content. And I don't think I'm quite there. I mean, who knows? But I think it is a niche thing. It's not stylized enough. I mean, I think that's another part about this is a lot of people who came to the channel said, it looks like a photo. Like, I'm glad I got to see it in day 2 or day 3 before it looked like a photo. And I've taken that to heart. I think if it's too much like a photo, nobody, what's the point of, and especially when you're on a small screen, it looks like a photo much more quickly. So, Linda, it's AI. Exactly. So, for those who don't know, Linda is my nemesis on Facebook, who I've ranted about for probably now for hours on this stream. Linda, let's not open up this can of worms. Linda saw my painting of, I can't even remember now who it was. It doesn't matter, but she said, gotcha. Here's the photo you're working from. Okay, that was the first shot across the bow. It was, she had found the photo that I was painting from. And okay, yes. Have you seen the process? So I put the process video down in the comments. I said, no, I make no, this is my process. She was like, this is not art. This is a copy. It's a digitization of this photo. It's a filter. That's what her first comment was. You're using Photoshop filters to do this. And I said, oh no, thank you. I wasn't really offended because I was like, I can defend myself. Look at the process video. So I put the process video down. And then Linda doubled down and said, it's not creative, it's not art. It's like, she moved the goalpost. And that was where my rage, I started writing comments and then I had to delete them because, not because they were mean, it was just I was like wasting too much time. And I'm like the moderator of that group, so I didn't want to be, I'm the admin of the group, so I didn't want it to become like a, so anyway, Linda says it's AI. Yeah, exactly. Why not? What's wrong with AI? I take it Linda wasn't an artist. So this is the fascinating part. She is. She paints like kind of watercolors of cats and birds and like almost like, they're definitely creative and artsy, but they're more creative and artsy from the perspective of like a Hallmark card type thing, which is legit. I'm not knocking that. But she's not a realist artist at all, although I think part of her style is trying to be a representational painter. So anyway, it would be fun to have her on as the special guest. And that's like the idea is that one day when I amass 20,000 followers, I'm going to do a portrait of Linda. And I'm waiting until I have like some real destructive power. But yeah, and the other sad thing is that like, I was sort of checking it out. Like, is this a bot? Is this, who is this? And it's really just that, this is somebody who in real life I would get along with well, and we'd probably have a lot to talk about painting and all that. So it was a real shame that it had to kick off that way. And yeah, definitely one of the portrait painters in the group. And eventually she said like, I'm sorry if what I said came off as rude. And, or something like that. No, so she said, sorry for my, I'm sorry for my, anyway, whatever. As Cinnabon Boy says, she lives in my head rent free for eternity now. And that doesn't stop, you know, like when you're painting digitally, Facebook doesn't seem to get it, that it's hard work, you know. It's not, there's a reason this takes 12 hours, because you're doing all this stuff. So I think all of this kind of inspired me to say, let's make it more artsy, you know, like what's the point in having it be look so photographic all the time? Now the question is, how do we do that? How do I stop myself as somebody who's trained to paint what they see pretty precisely? How do we stop it? How do you know when to stop it? And what is creative? And these are all the questions that we want to answer in our like talk show portion of this, and have Linda on to discuss. But we'll get there. I believe it. I believe we can do it. All right, I'm going to steal another color here. This is our middle range aquamarine. And then what happens is you start to mix those colors in. And then here. All right. We are where are we? Another thing I was wondering about copyright and VODs, like, is copyright, are movies entirely copyright? So that if you use if you were to put on YouTube like a moment from the film Aliens, would that become copyright restricted? Would the bots figure that out, I guess, is something that I'm wondering about. Now, am I losing it? I don't want to lose the fun macaroni background. We'll have to bring in Linda to weigh in. So what's happening, I think, is the sketchy nature of the background is beginning to pull away from, like, compete with visually the heads in this case. So we got to watch out for that. See all this? It's too much stuff happening here. And we'll grab zoom in there. See, it's too much. There's too much fireworks going on in the background. I should have left it with the noodles. What do you think? Okay, we're going to move on, because that's all we can do, is move forward. Take this. Got our grays. Here's our purples. Finding our purples again. The background has always been trouble for me. It's not, you'd think it was easy, but the thing is, like, getting the balance between the foreground and the background is critical and very difficult to do. I've never really been able to pull it off. I'll show you what happens with my other paintings when I try to do it. I have another fun idea for a portrait. Well, I'll get into that when I'm done with this. All right. So look at all this flickering happening here. Too much. It kind of does that, right? I mean, and now we really have to kind of squint down and find a way to make the background do what it does there. Here, you'll see what I mean. So see, I have to close my eyes almost so that I don't get lost in the weeds and I just see the big picture. There's a lot, you'll see a lot of traditional artists, or whatever you want to call it, YouTube artists, talking about this. This is like what I was trained to do, was basically blur my eyes down to such an extent that all you see is like the big shape. And I'm flicking my eye back and forth, and if I do that enough, you'll start to see, oh, well, over here it should be darker, you know. And you pull those darks. You can see where you've gone wrong, basically. So that's kind of cool. Like, what's wrong with that, you know? I don't know. It's really getting cloudy up there. But I like the colors. I don't know. Let's get this. Again, don't get lost. We've already sort of decided that we're gonna not leave gray noodles in the background. I think I've pushed myself over that edge, but I am gonna allow myself to have Reestland. Is there a tool to kind of smear it? Definitely, yes. There's a blur tool, and that is well, what you would do is get a paintbrush and blur it with the paintbrush. And part of what I'm up against is not blurring edges. I want to learn to keep edges soft. Like already you see when I get into this and I start blurring those edges. So anyway, it's that balance between blurring and not blurring, and then also the technique that I'm trying to gain experience in making the brush strokes correct. The first stroke. And with backgrounds, again, I have almost zero experience with background because usually background is the most boring day and I just do it and get it over with and I don't think about it, but it's never satisfying, the backgrounds. So yeah, you'll see if I get back into the pants or something like that, I could blur an edge that needs to be blurred by just mixing up a value that's between the dark and the light. So the edge that's darker, but I'm trying to, so yeah, there's definitely a tool, but the tool is the paintbrush. And you can see how these digital paintbrushes work. They're really cool. I mean, they pick up the color that's underneath them. I still don't fully know how to use them, and I use the right out of the box, like Photoshop default brushes. But there's incredible stuff that you can do with these digital brushes, but I'm only scratching the surface. But see, you can see the brush picks up the stuff underneath it. But you know, you gotta, I don't know, I don't want to go too far into that, but I like how it looks brushy. And then, you know, another thing that, who was it? Was it Ariandel Art that was talking about this the other day? You can do layers. You can layer, just put a new layer over it and then blur that entirely and then mask parts of that layer out. So, but the way I've been approaching this so far, at least as I learn to use the tools, is keep it very simple, and I only let myself use the paintbrushes. I did use, I try not to let myself do like undo buttons. Here, look at this. See this? This should be over like this more. Whoops. So again, squinting, looking down, something like this. You know, okay, so again, this idea of squinting and finding where the big shapes live, like where the big aqua swath of aqua. Wait, that was weird. I don't want that at all. See that color? I don't like that. That's great. That's green. Too green. I think the problem is something like that. Who cares if it looks a little like sort of those Japanese water carvings? I like that. Have you ever seen, if you look at the Pinocchio movie, yeah, it has character, exactly. If you look at Pinocchio and there's that scene with the whale at the end, they really went for it with like the Japanese I don't know what kind of art that is, but you can see like the little wisps of, it looks kind of like that. All right, so squinting, yes, I could blur all this stuff in. And I think Zeldavania, it has character, and that is what I want. But there's a problem. The problem happens when the character competes with the characters, so to speak. You know, like if there's so much character in the background that we can't focus on the heads, and because the heads are already very sketchy, like I didn't even get in here and do Ripley's face yet, which I will do now. Let's fill in these blanks there. Yeah, so I mean, you get it. It's like that, finding that balance. Right. Okay, so I'm going to take, there's a little bit of a highlight edge coming through here. Just going to feed that in. And blur this across. I don't mind too much. One thing that I need to do, speaking of, I think I was chatting about layers earlier. You'll see when I like a bit of the blotchiness there in the face. You see the canvas coming through. Okay. Since we're at this, let's finish what we started here. So I want to put the background to bed. Blur that across. Up here, it's way too, I don't know. It's too much activity up there. We can leave some of that. It's funny how this, I've been working on background and kind of non-essential things. And I just went back to the head and I was like, uh-oh, I don't want to do that. Because it's always like opening up a new can of worms. If you start messing with something, you're going to have to keep it going. So here we're blurring, finding edges as they come in and out. Whoops. See, so the thing about clouds is they have sharp edges and soft edges too. Hard to sometimes see that, but that's where you get that's where you can really get the find out what's sharp and what's soft. Okay, just a happy little cloud there. Yep. Here, do I want this edge here to be this dark? But I think you can start to see what I'm talking about. It becomes less artistic and more representational, and that is my like Achilles heel. Like I've been trained to blur edges down until it looks like what you're seeing in nature, because in nature there are no sharp edges. You're never going to see a dark edge in nature. There's a blur to it. Oh no. See, I'm going to use my undo key there. All right. But again, it's like making those mistakes, the happy accidents. Now, I don't mind. I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say. It's getting... Sometimes I can just do this until the clock runs out. Like what'll happen is the it's kind of cool. I mean, I still haven't been able to shake that Thriller Michael Jackson look in the portrait. Probably time to do that. Okay. Squinting, looking, you can fill in these blobs here. Breaking this up. So what do you think here? Let's get this, certainly chop through this overall strap so that it's not looking too out there. That's nice, right? I mean, that's stylized clouds. Never been good at that stylization stuff. I don't trust it, it's like you really have to own it when you do that. Whatever, some happy little clouds, paint some happy little trees. Whoops, don't do that. And then all this over here, I think, is critical. Like, make this See? Make this all one unified space. Now, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a success or not, but I know that that's a focal point of interest in the painting. And we gotta leave it, give it that place in our painting. Okay. Not too much like Starry Night. Zeldavania. I know, that's the problem. So what are we going to do? We're going to blur it down? Gosh, it is. It's Starry Night, and I'm embarrassed. No, I think we're okay. It's sort of. Another thing is just like leaving it. Oh God, leaving it be a little bit. Let it go. So here's the white. Here's the bag under the eye that needs to be tucked in and up. Here is the highlight in the eye on the right we have. Here's what I'm going to do, if I can. We're going to make a new layer. This is where the magic really comes in here. Make a new layer. And then on top of this layer, we're going to, because fine details like this are so hard to do, see, you have to, nope, see, in my painting, she's looking down. And in nature, she's looking up and away. So, and then same idea for Ridley Ripley. It really, to me, it doesn't matter because nobody's going to be staring at the photo next to this, and it's let's take a look. Oh yeah, okay, middle right, something like that. Okay, there's that highlight. Who knows? I mean, this is again this sort of happy accident stuff where it's like, it's not quite like the photo, and that gives it its like charm, or it gives it its like extra whatever. So we're going to use highlights on the, I don't know. One thing I saw that needed to go back. So after I do my little highlight dance there, I then unplug this, I put them together and just merge them again. So if you saw what I did there, and you might be thinking, why did you need to do a new layer? The answer is, if you paint, hang on, I'm going to zoom out. It's kind of cool. I don't know. I think I'm ready soonish. If you paint wet into wet, for some reason, you can't quite get, for some reason it like, I've tried to explain this even to myself, and I don't fully understand it, but there's something about the way white paint blurs into dark paint. It's like it's harder for the digital brush to kill if I wanted to go in there and carve into a white highlight with dark, it was hard to do that. Like it kept blurring too much and smudging into it. So by doing the new layer, it's like you've let the paint dry and then you're plopping colors on top. But because I'm mostly trying to make this be like an alla prima exercise so that it looks like it's painted all in one go, I'm not doing a lot of those layering effects that I would normally do in my studio, for instance. So there's the top of the head. Seldivania, the Starry Night commentary. I got to get in there. Look at this. It looks like I don't know what it looks like, but it looks like a cheap imitation. Yeah. All right, let's get some more highlights in the hair. We're going to do this. The hair here. Then the hair here. You know, we come down to the wire at a certain point and we just start throwing stuff at the wall. Like, yeah, she looks too. Newt looks super bored here. She's like, what? She's like, she's watching like Bluey or something. Oh God. So how do we do that? Like, Ripley's like, dude, Newt, there's a xenomorph right there. And Newt's like, yeah, but I'm watching. So you look at that. It's like there's something strange about how. So we have to do a new layer, lock this one, and then jump in here. It's like you can't win. Yeah, this is the problem. Oops. Not that. That's a problem, but not the same one that I'm working on. Here. Let's grab this, highlight, and then carve under the eye here. That's part of the issue. There. She's looking up a little bit more. Ripley. Ellen Ripley. Pretty cool. So now we're doing an accent layer as if we're painting from life. Not from life, but in IRL. Okay. We're taking tiny brushes here. And then so now we did our layer. We're going to merge these again. merge layers, so then it all becomes wet paint again. So this is something that you can kind of do that in oil painting. It's called oiling out, where you this is part of the Michael Jackson problem. Oh, dude, come on. Is it locked? Yeah, okay. Upper lip. Lower lip. Now we're going to blur all this stuff down. We need to get a little bit more red on the lower lip. Okay? And we're going to glaze it in. And then this is the highlight. We need to blast a highlight in. And that way we can see more of the Ripley likeness. We can blur this edge a bit more. And I will say this, I really appreciate the feedback and the chat today. I don't know if I'm completely ready to sign off on this one, but usually what ends up happening is I look at it and I say, hey, it's good enough. I'm smart enough. And, we move on to the next episode. But this is a good one, I think. I think it came out pretty well, even though it's still going. Is she watching TV? I don't know. Yeah, it looks like she's kind of looking down. But I'm not going to go in there. I can't. Oh, that's it. That's it. Time lapse done. I think that's going to be it. That's a sign. All right. Lots more that I could have done, but we can always revisit it. Thank you, everyone, for sitting in and for the new subscribes and likes and all that. And I hope you'll join us for the next project. Should we look at the time lapse while we're... Let's see if we can do it. All right, so here it was. We got the grates, the background, and then the beautiful starry night. And then that's it. So in the end, we just sort of tightened up the portrait a little bit. All right, so what do we think? Is that good to go? Should we do our time lapse from the beginning? Brought to you by Reebok. So, anyway, fun. Another fun one. We'll take that and open it with Handbrake and then process it. And then meanwhile over here, we need to save our Photoshop file. We can save a JPEG, Ripley 7. And all right, we're going to sign off now. And I hope to see everybody or some people. And it was a longer stream than I wanted, maybe, but it came out. It's done. And we'll catch you next time. Happy painting. Happy alien destruction. Bye-bye.